Hello and welcome to coverage of the World Championship. We're in Nice, France. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe with Randy Buehler. Let's take a look at our players.
Sam Black, United States of America, pro player at large.
All right, well, we're taking a look at Stansilav Cifka here as he takes a drink of water.
This deck, oh my goodness.
He's always smiling. Let's take a look at his opponent, Sam
I would
Black.
be smiling if I had this deck too.
Sam not smiling. He does sometimes, though.
His deck's also insane.
Both of these players have fantastic decks. Randy, give us the lowdown as we get underway down in the feature match area.
So Cifka's got a Goblin deck, and we've seen some good Goblin decks. We've not seen this Goblin deck. 3 Goblin Goons.
Oh, 3 of them?
Sitting alongside 3 Beetleback Chiefs.
Wow, 3 Beetleback Chiefs?
Yeah, and a Lightning Dragon and a Flame Tongue Kavu. And you know that might sound like a lot of 4s, but he's got a Mana Crypt and an Ancient Tomb.
Wow. So what the heck is Sam Black going to do against this? Well, he's got a Findhorn Elves, but what's his game plan, Randy?
Survival of the Fittest.
Oh, man.
Discarding Basking Rootwalla.
For free.
Putting it into play for free. Or, if you prefer, discarding a fatty so that you can reanimate it with the 2 copies of Breath of Life that are in the deck.
Wow, cool. Well, I'm excited for this one. Serendipity here for Sam Black on turn 2.
3/4 flyer, no problem.
Facing 2 Skirk Prospectors, so looking pretty good here for Sam if you want to stabilize against a pair of 1/1s.
What? I thought these decks were fast. Reed Duke has already won his first game with a lethal Tendrils of Agony?
This format, Randy, I can barely keep up with it. That is insane.
High Tide, Turnabout, Dark Ritual.
Some number, and then Tendrils. Wow.
Oh, the Vampiric Tutor was involved, a Frantic Search.
That's incredible.
What turn was it?
We'll get that one.
Sounds like a turn 3 kill with a lethal Tendrils.
That's insane.
Yes.
In the meantime, Beetleback Chief here on turn 3 for Cifka.
Oh, Skirk Prospector is also Mana Acceleration. Yeah, people do not sack Skirk Prospectors often enough.
No.
That guy is a Lotus Petal that can sometimes attack. He's not a Goblin who can sometimes sack for mana.
I like the way you think, Randy. And so does Cifka, as now he's got, both players with some form of Mana Acceleration. And here's a Brainstorm for Black, which is probably a good sign for Cifka, as... it means he's probably not doing a ton else this turn, though you never know. But sinking one of his 3 available currently mana into a Brainstorm means that he can spend 3 mana this turn. And Cifka's got that grin. Look at him. He likes his board state.
Ray Perez was on the losing end of that Reed Duke Tendrils, by the way. That's the 0-2 match. I did not expect Reed to start this tournament 0-2, especially it sounded like his deck was pretty good. But
I don't know. That's
not consistently enough. You're not buying it?
Scares me a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I do agree with what those guys said that the high end on it can be incredible.
Yes.
But it also can just kind of not do a lot, and there's draws that, like from decks like what Cifka has, that can really put the heat on you quickly and make you do stuff. It's not like it just 3-0s if you get it.
Lightning Dragon.
Wow.
Serendib's stuck playing defense, just pinging away a point a turn.
The good news is, though, for Sam Black fans, is that he is hiding nicely behind the Serendib Efreet. It is doing a great job as a blocker. And, of course, we knew that Sam wasn't going to just do nothing with that turn. He's got Crows and Tusker, which he's going to cycle for a Plains. And it looks like Josh Utter-Layton. He got paired up against Tom Martell this round.
Teammates.
And he has picked up the first game against Tom. Both of those players are 1-1 and looking to get out of the pod with a solid 2-1, as opposed to the much less solid 1-2. So here's Sam Black drawing a card off of his Tusker. And for his draw step. Here's another life loss. Now, Cifka's, while he can't actually attack through the Efreet because it's huge, 3/4 with flying, he does get to still get some work done by the life loss.
Also, Lightning Dragon can attack through it. He's enjoying this.
He certainly is.
Levy Jacob Wilson is black-white mirror, it sounds like.
So, yeah, there were a lot of black-white decks in the field.
There really were.
Levy's up a game over Jacob Wilson. Those players are also sitting at 1-1.
Sam's got the Breath of Life. Looks like I think that's the whiteboarded card on the edge of his hand. Yep.
Sam,
So he can put the Croson Tusker into play if he wants to.
right. He can get the Tusker down right now.
It's not the most exciting thing he can do, though.
No.
Doesn't deal with Lightning Dragon. It probably has to play defense.
To block a 2-powered or 1-powered creature.
Maybe you start attacking with it.
It is a pretty quick clock, ultimately. Especially when you can save up 1 attack with your Serendipifreet, which is going to start attacking.
I mean, it seems like what Sam really needs is an answer to the Lightning Dragon.
Yes, he does. Another flyer would do nicely.
Right. I mean, he's currently outclassed in the air.
Aquamoeba comes down on 2, but he's sort of suspiciously left 3 mana up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there's the Echo cost. You see that dice was sitting on top of Cifka's library to remind him. Symbiotic Worm in hand for black?
Yeah, survival that into the graveyard.
That is much more exciting to buy back.
Well, he doesn't have a way to get into the graveyard,
Not
unfortunately.
currently, no.
He needs the survival of the fittest. He's also got 2 Frantic Searches.
Yeah, I mean, Aquamoeba can
Aquamoeba
pitch
will get
the
it.
worm.
Of course.
How do you like that play, Randy?
That's exciting. There's a lot more discard in this deck than I picked up on at first. 2 copies of Frantic Search, the Aquamoeba, the Survival, the second Aquamoeba. No Mongrels, though. Somehow there just weren't very many Mongrels in any of the pods.
Interestingly, Sam wants to block with his Archamoeba, or at least be able to on the ground, but he also wants to pitch the worm. Could just do it on his turn. Kind of fun how that Aquamoeba interaction works, where he does want to time it so that, like, maybe if he wants to attack with it, he can, or get the right block in.
Yeah,
Right,
this
so
seems like the
Dragon
right
hits
attack.
the zone, and Sam says, yeah, no problem, take 4. And nothing for Cifka, thanks to the Echo cost on the Lightning Dragon there.
Sure.
Just means he doesn't get to do anything for the turn, and Sam Black's got to love this.
Fire Breathing is going to add up, though. It's basically a 2-turn clock.
Yeah, he can chump once.
Wait, Sam's at 13 now? It's actually a 1-turn clock.
He might be at 12.
Well, all the Skirk Prospector means all of those goblins can just turn into +1 power on Lightning
you're
Dragon.
right.
He can Fire Breathe for 8 next turn from this board.
All right, there it is. Symbiotic Worm, 7/7.
But Sam attacked with the Serendib.
Oh, he did. Is he dead here? With just green mana up, he can't play Tangle.
Did he just miss the Skirk Prospector into Fire Breathing mana?
The worm doesn't have reach. So how much is it? Let's count it up. It's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I missed 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. Do you think Cifka's just going, well, is there anything I need to be concerned about here? Like, the card that jumps to mind is Tangle.
It's Tangle, but he's only got the elf.
He just has the elf. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, all those goblins via Skirk Prospector can turn into red mana.
Yeah. So he just attacked with everything.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to kill them all anyway.
Yeah, he's just
also-
going to kill him.
Stan also has Rites of Initiation in his hand, which could be relevant.
It's
I
just-
don't think he needs it, though. I think he can get there with just Fire Breathing.
Yeah. He actually only needs to deal 11, also because of the Ifrit. But
Sure. Okay, he goes Rites for 3. Sure, that's a more efficient use of 3 red mana. Yeah. Rites got there. I'm not even sure he needed the Rites,
I
but
think he just had it on. I think he had the win on board anyway.
Stanislav Cifka.
Wow, Cifka gets by Sam Black in the first game here. And
Breath of Life for Symbiotic Worm. No good.
No, too slow.
Too slow.
And that's going to put him within 1 game of 3-0ing his first pot.
Yeah.
Play like the pro.
All right, well, we'll be back in just a moment after these messages.
Play like the pros by jumping into a Vintage Masters draft right now. Vintage Masters draft is available until December 10th. Join the fun by downloading Magic Online at www.mtgo.com. Hump bigger game by playing in a Grand Prix. These open tournaments feature the best players in your region as well as top Magic pros from around the world. Upcoming Grand Prix include Baltimore, Milan, Denver, Manila, Omaha, and Shizuoka. Visit magic.wizards.com/Grand Prix for a complete schedule.
All right, well, our main feature match gets shuffled up and sideboarded. Let's jump over to Table B. That's the one with Raymond Perez Jr. and Reed Duke. And we've had a flashback deep analysis, a mana vault, and a frantic search that's just resolved. So we could be right in the middle of Reed Duke going off with his Storm deck. I see tendrils right at the front of his hand.
Oh, there's High Tide, too.
And that's a High Tide.
All right, he's got all the mana he could possibly need.
And he's got the tendril, so it's a spell question.
What's that?
It's just a number of spells. That's the problem here.
Right. Now he needs to draw enough cards. Obsessive Search will get him to draw another card. Draws a Mana Vault. Again, a lot of mana. So Reed's plan is to cast 10 spells, and then, well, 9 spells. The Tendrils of Agony wants to be the 10th spell, which can just drain Ray Perez for 2 each. Mana Vault is spell number.
So we've had
5.
There's 2 Mana Vaults,
Frantic Search,
Frantic
High
Search,
Tide,
and
Obsessive Search,
and a flashback
Deep Analysis, 2
so
Mana
that's
Vaults.
5.
That's 6.
I also see Temporal Fissure in hand for Reed.
Oh, jeez.
Now he can use that to generate Storm Count as well.
Yeah,
right?
he can pick up the Mana Vaults and recast them.
And float a bunch of mana.
Oh, yeah. He's totally got this.
Yeah.
Temporal Fissure. He can
here's a
bounce
Temporal
his own
Fissure.
Mana Vaults.
1, 2, 3, 4, and your 3 planes.
And your 3 planes.
Yeah, he's already up to 7 Storm Count. So he gets 7 copies of Temporal Fissure.
Oh, man, this is sick. Reed Duke going off in Vintage Masters draft. Now, he hasn't had the best draft. He finds himself at 0-2 coming into this game, but he already won the first game very, very quickly, and it looks like he's going to be able to seal the deal here, too.
I mean, Tendrils is double black. That can sometimes be an issue. I see only 1 untapped swamp.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to guess. I mean, he had a Frantic Search. It sure seems like he should have had enough black mana.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's got one floating, but...
5 colorless.
Just needs to make sure that he gets everything,
Colorless.
all of his bases covered. You don't want to make a procedural error at this stage, and he's going to get to play a Temporal Fissure to pick up.
2 copies each on your 3 lands.
Okay, so he can stack targets.
He's picking up his swamp.
Yeah.
If he hasn't played a land for the turn, then he can just play the swamp, and now he's
Right.
got the 2nd black mana.
That's
okay.
right.
Yeah, no land drop for the turn yet. Storm count is somewhere in the teens.
By the way, no permanence on Ray's side of the board at all.
Flawless victory, right?
That's what you want. Ideally, Ray's at 20. You know, you get him. You get
There
all
you
of
go.
it.
Tendrils of
And
Agony.
Tendrils of Agony is going to at least get 1 win out of this draft for Reed. So
Yep.
Reed's up 2-0 in
Yep.
that one and picks up the victory to finish 1 and 2.
1-2.
You know, he got a win out of it.
It's not a disaster.
Right.
It's not the way you wanted to start the tournament, but like we said, you know, where the top 4 cut is, you know, could be 9 and 5. It could be 8 and 6.
Yep.
You got some losses to give.
All right, well, let's jump over to that far table you see with Tom Martell versus Josh Utter-Layton. These 2 guys are teammates,
Yep.
and they're scrapping it out. Josh is up a game in this match.
Came to Europe early, played Grand Prix Strasbourg together. Tom
is prophetic bolting.
It's always a fun time. Which one of these cards do I want? In addition to my 4 damage.
Looks like he's got some good options here.
Is he prophetic bolting Josh? Is this to the face, or did he kill the mongrel?
The mongrel could have died, though.
No, I killed the one mongrel.
Killed the mongrel. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
I don't get the trigger to throw on this turn.
Yeah, it's one of those where, like, yeah, if you want to discard 3 cards to save your mongrel, I'll allow it.
Tom's deck looks awesome.
Martell 20, Layton 12.
It looks like Josh
Oh,
is all the
there's
way
the
down to
Mox
12.
Jet.
Oh, the Mox Jet's here.
There is the Mox Jet. That was the one piece of power that got opened in these 3 drafts.
He opened it. He slammed it. He was pretty happy. Now, he didn't end up playing black, but
It's fine.
the old colorless Mox
You know what?
is no problem.
Wild Mongrel's a lot better on turn 1 than it is on turn 2. How do you feel about turn 2 Arrogant Worm? I think he pulled that off. He went turn 2 Mongrel into turn 2 Arrogant Worm once already.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah,
And
colorless Mox is just fine.
I love that. Deep analysis for Josh means that he's going to be in a pretty good spot here as far as cards go. It looks like he's got plenty of those. It's just a matter of dealing with the board state that he's up against, which I believe that's a Dax duplicate. I don't know what it's. Is it a mongrel? Maybe.
So those counters, Dethrone is kicking in.
That's a Man of War.
Oh, God.
It's
Tom
a Man of
Martell,
War.
I love you. It's a Man of War. He Dax duplicated his Man of War. What could be better than that?
Oh, Blazing Spectre.
Blazing Spectre's not bad either. I mean, Josh has a full grip here.
So much damage.
But still, Martell riding into victory here, or at least into battle.
Blow me out with it, aren't you?
Josh falls down to 4 and has to ditch an island, no big deal. The question is, what does Josh have here? He's got tons of mana and tons of cards in hand. He needs to shore up the game. I mean,
Is that Sylvos? The Rogue Elemental?
yes, that is.
And a Blastoderm.
Blastoderm's certainly safer for blocking the
Yeah.
duplicate. It's just a 3/3. It's got dethroned, but
Josh is no longer the player with the highest life total.
hey, that was a good turn.
Not bad.
Blocker and a blocker.
Josh is up a game, right? This is Tom trying to force game 3.
That's correct.
And pretty close. He's got Josh down to 4. Doesn't have an obvious good attack here.
No.
But we don't know what's in his hand.
Now, this is the interesting thing about these tempo decks is that they try to kind of play the get ahead, stay ahead plan, and then when your opponent equalizes or gets slightly ahead, that's when it puts a lot of pressure on certain cards in these type of decks to really get you out from under it. And the question is, does Tom have those? Also, burn spells, we saw Prophetic Bolt earlier, those going to the face can be quite good to help finish off the game if you've managed to get ahead, stay ahead for a while, but now you've fallen behind. And often you get a lot of time to do that as well, because once you get your opponent's life total low, they aren't comfortable attacking you. They feel like they can't start hitting you because you can attack them back.
Wow.
Here we go. Expunge.
Yeah. I mean, he's only going to get a card from hand because Josh is, of course, going to discard to pick up the Aven, but it clears a path for the Blazing Spectre.
That's right. Which
So
is
effectively expunges for choose and discard 2 cards.
yeah, and also take a third of his remaining life total. Let's jump back
Exactly.
to our main feature match here, though. Cifka picks up the win. Ultimately off of Rites of Initiation, though, I don't think he needed it.
No, it was Lightning Dragon.
It was off of a Lightning Dragon.
Triangle
And,
of War.
Triangle of War has entered the battlefield. And Stanislav Cifka wants to make sure that he remembers what that card does.
Sounds like Jacob Wilson has picked up game 2, so he and Raph will head to game 3. Hulking Goblin off a Mana Crypt. Turn 1, Mounted Mana
Wow.
Crypt. Well,
Oh, no.
Hulking Goblin. I mean, you do what you got to do.
You do what you got to do. But that Mana
Here's a
Crypt
1/3
is
blocker.
incredibly scary if you're Sam Black.
Even?
What?
What?
Looks
He
like
took damage
even-
on evens?
even-
Everyone is damage on odds. I thought that was just the universal agreement.
No, I'd pick odds too.
Sam suggested damage on evens?
Sam Black with the big play. He knew exactly what to expect. Talk about being prepared for a
All
tournament.
right. Yeah, turn 4, though, is where Cifka's deck really kicks in.
How about turn
I mean,
2?
Yeah, I mean 4 mana, obviously.
Unbelievable. Turn 2, Beetleback Chief. Go.
The
Triangle
Aquamoeba's
of War.
actually doing a pretty solid job of holding off the world.
It is. It will begin to fade quickly, though, if Sam Black can't put something on the board, because I think Cifka is happy to throw away a token to get in for 5 here.
Sure.
Starting coming up. Also, cards like Rites of Initiation just end it. You're just like, gotcha.
Yeah, if he had Rites of Initiation, would this be a turn 3 kill? I think so.
Probably. It depends on Sam's play, obviously, but Sam actually just does nothing. I think that Cifka drew a Goblin General there.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I mean, Sam did leave up Triangle of War mana. Could be on that plan.
Yeah, it was a Goblin General.
Sam's even holding a Frantic Search.
Yeah, so Triangle of War says you can pay 2 colorless and sacrifice it to basically have a creature you control fight a creature you don't control.
Right, so he can effectively... Aquamoeba can pick off a Goblin, and then Aquamoeba can also fight with another Goblin.
Yes?
He's going to Frantic Search, though, first. Decide what's up.
Frantic Search, another discard outlet for Sam's deck, because he does have Reanimator sub-theme here.
Yeah, it's not just a sub-theme. It's a big part of what he's got going on. I think.
Yeah.
There's 2 copies of Breath of Life.
Yeah, 2 copies of it. Frantic Search, not a card you normally play unless you do have some type of way to either abuse it or get some shenanigans going.
There's a lot of decks that want to play Frantic Search. I don't know about you don't usually play. The people who draft it, I think usually do play it.
Yeah, I'm just saying you don't play it in a blue deck.
No, that's fair. Right. You play it because you have Madness, or you
Yes.
play it because you want stuff in the graveyard, or you play it because you want Storm Count.
Exactly.
But if there's 3 different archetypes that can play it, and Sam is kind of half Reanimator, half Madness here.
Right. Yeah,
So, I mean, it's doing double duty. Although what it's not doing is giving him a way to deal with the horde of goblins that are coming over. He doesn't have a reanimation spell. He doesn't have a madness spell either.
God, I love Cifka's deck here. I mean, explosive mana draws thanks to the cheat mana.
Discard Circular Logic, but does not trigger the madness. It's too bad. Frantic Search Circular Logic is fun. I've done that more than a couple
That
times.
seems fun. You can Arrogant Worm as well, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
That's pretty decent. not too bad. All right, so
I don't know. The Frantic Search Circular Logic is the one that tilts people, though, because you didn't even have the cards in the graveyard to make the Circular Logic effective until you Frantic Searched, and then it didn't cost you a card because you discarded it to the Frantic Search. It's
No,
all
that's yeah. So Sam's blocked a token,
good. Yep.
and Cifka's in the tank. He's got 4 mana available, and he is really thinking this through. Let's take a look at his hand. What
he
does
has
have?
actual nothing. He's representing tricks that do not exist. I think he's representing rights or instant speed removal. Want Sam to be worried about things, but Sam is just, look, my plan was to spend my mana on this triangle. I'm going to kill 2 tokens and take 4. Aquamoeva's a 1/3, so it can take down both the goblins and still live to tell.
And then he can trade off his Aquamoeba if he has something to discard next turn, or just keep one of these things at bay. You know, if you can get him down to just the Hulking Goblin, then you can be in better shape. But holy smokes!
Yeah, Mana Crypt is good. We talked about only one piece of power getting open, but you know what? Mana Crypt is restricted in Vintage, just like the Moxen.
I mean, it's better here than Josh Utter-Layton's Mox
Yeah,
Jet.
that's better than a Mox Jet would have been. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm going to take an average of 1.5 damage a turn. Whatever.
Yeah, you're going to take an average of 8 a turn, so I will take that trade.
Cifka has just
Look
been able...
at this board.
Yeah, this board's insane. It's turn 4. He's starting his 4th turn now.
Unbelievable. Mana Crypt just doing serious work here in limited.
Turn 1 Hulking Goblin, turn 2 Beetleback Chief, turn 3 Goblin General, and a second Hulking Goblin. Normally the General comes out on turn 3 and the Beetleback comes out on turn 4. They seem better in this order.
They do.
Yeah, I'm sure that Mana Crypt was her first pick. Quite the card.
Sam Black has head in hands here, and it's hard to blame him.
Yeah.
This has just been completely absurd. Turn 1 Hulking Goblin, turn 2 Beetleback Chief. His turn 3 was 2 more goblins, including a Goblin General?
Yeah, I mean, the Aquamoeba
What is going on here?
Aquamoeba into Yavimaya Elder is often good enough to sort of hold off the Goblin deck. It's a pretty solid opening. He's even got a Brindle Shoal in his hand. Those cards are normally good enough to hold off the Goblins.
Yeah.
Not when you throw in a Mana Crypt.
Wow.
Yeah, Cifka's deck is so good. Ancient Tomb's also in this deck. For even more. I mean, not quite the Mana Crypt level of acceleration, but it's a good one.
I wonder if Sam could have survived an Ancient Tomb draw. I don't know that he's going to be able to get through
I mean,
this,
he lost the first game with no acceleration from Cifka.
Right.
Cifka was just like, okay, turn 4, I will play a Lightning Dragon.
Yeah.
I guess, to be fair, it wasn't no acceleration. He had the Skirk Prospectors.
He did. You're right. That's true.
He went, what, turn 3 Beetleback into turn 4 Lightning Dragon in that game?
He did.
Wow. Nice deck.
Yeah, this deck is incredible.
I heard Huey say the best deck, if you can get it, is the Storm deck. I think the best deck when it's open might be the Goblin deck.
It might be. It's certainly more consistent.
Right.
I think the best
low
thing
end is a lot higher.
Yeah, I think the best thing about this deck is that it just doesn't care what you do. Like, normally these small creature decks have to care a lot about what you do, and this one just seems to be able to just either go around you, go through you, rights you, burn you.
It can go wide. It can go rights. It can go wide with Goblin General pumping up tokens. It can have Rights of Initiation pumping guys up, and sometimes they've just got a Fire Blast.
Right.
And like a Chain Lightning Fire Blast finish for the last 7. I mean, the best versions will get, Goblin Lackey's nice if you can get it, although he's rare.
Yes.
The War Chief is uncommon.
What
Both the
starts
General and the
faster,
Beetle
a
deck.
Goblin Lackey on turn 1 or the Mana Crypt?
Oh, Mana Crypt.
It's just way faster, right?
Mana Crypt. I mean, Lackey's good. I mean, Lackey's easier to answer. Just 2 more. How about a Patrol and a Prospector?
All he does is just dump goblins. This draw has been one of the best draws I've ever seen from Vintage Masters. I've played a lot of this format.
4 turns, all my cards are in play.
I've never seen a Mana Crypt do this much in this format. That is insane. What is Sam supposed to do? I mean, that picture about summed it up.
You content yourself with winning 4 packs and move on with your 2-1.
Right, Sam counting his life total and
Yeah.
Cifka smiling. I mean, that's
smiling.
about that.
There's the
That's the
hand.
story of that match, and that's going to do it. Cifka 3-0 to start things off for his bid to become world champion, and Sam Black right there too at 2-1.
Oh yeah.
Woof. Cifka says, "Can we just play this one all day?" Goodness
I think
sake.
he may have top 8'd a constructed tournament with basically that deck.
So you can see in our feature match area, we've got 2 other matches still going. Tom Martell versus Josh Utter-Layton on the table to the right there. And it looks like Raph Levy versus Jacob Wilson on our back table.
Yeah, I believe that's a pair of game 3s.
Looks like we're going to jump over. You see the cameras being put into place. I know that Jacob had a hard time getting sleep last
He got
night.
actual 0 sleep.
Yeah, but
I was
I've
talking
asked
to him
him-
at breakfast. He did not,
Yeah.
not a minute.
I've asked him a couple of times throughout the day, "How you holding up? How you doing?" He's like, "Great." But he's the
Nice
type
to-
of guy.
I vaguely remember being 19.
Yeah, but he's also the one that's a little sarcastic, and he might be. And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "No, I'm really great." I'm like, "Oh, good." So yeah, must be nice. So what do we have going on in the battlefield? Is that a parallax wave?
Oh, is there? I saw Piana.
Yeah, I think that
Piana and Parallax Wave are friends.
creatures and parallax wave are friends. So
Oh,
yeah,
it's Parallax Wave versus Piana. I see.
right on the other side.
Jacob's going to take out the Shadow.
Yep, Douthie Mercenary and take out the Soltari Trooper.
Yeah, and there's no threshold here, right? So that Mystic and Piana are just going to bounce off each other.
Correct.
Trapper gets in for 2. Oh, Swords to Plowshares got rid of Death Head Buzzard, looks like, from the graveyards.
Oh, you're right.
Levy was
That's
able
one
to
way to work
dispatch with the
around
Death's
that.
Head without ever triggering it.
That's got to be a sigh of relief for Levy.
Yeah, it would have killed Trooper and Mercenary.
Levy, of course, from France. We're in his home country, not his hometown, but it's got to be nice, you know.
Yeah, I wonder how much of an edge the Europeans have with the whole jet lag thing. And we
Little
talk
bit.
about, I think it's a real edge.
I
I
think
mean,
it is,
Cifka's
too.
at 3-0, but Levy said he slept very well last night.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got his family with him. I mean, easy trip. He said he made the long journey to Strasbourg, 1 hour flight from where he lives, and then from Strasbourg to here, another 1 hour flight. So it looks like Wilson, though, is leaning pretty hard on Parallax Wave, as his board state isn't too impressive without it. And when it
Right.
finally ticks all the way down, Raph could just be in a position where he's like, well, it took a little longer than I anticipated, but I'm just going to kill you now. He follows up with another Douthie Mercenary as well. Remember, there's one under the wave, and now he's got one on the battlefield.
Yeah, Parallax
so.
Wave is at its best when you're on the attack and you're clearing blockers away and you're killing them before they ever get their creatures back. And it is incredibly powerful. I mean, it was one of the best cards. Kai Bude won a Pro Tour with a Rebels deck featuring Parallax Wave back in the day. It's definitely a very powerful card. But when you're kind of on the back foot and you're just blocking and buying time, it's definitely not the most effective use of it.
Yeah. Cube All-Star Parallax Wave.
Oh, sure.
I've done some disgusting things with that card in Cube.
Yeah. Well, you're probably parallax waving your own guys just to re-trigger the comes into play effects, right?
Oh, you know I am. And then I'm blinking the Parallax Wave. There's a lot you can do. In this format, though, it's a little bit more narrow. Still very powerful, though. I mean, it's keeping Jacob Wilson alive as he tries to rebuild his board here. Okay, attack step for Levy. And in they go. Piana and the Douthie Mercenary, and it looks like he's trying to decide if he wants to attack. No, he's just going to tap down. No, I guess he is going to fight.
There's a shelter in Jacob's hand.
Oh, no, he was tapping. Yeah, that's not in the red zone. All right, so Shelter is going to keep his creature untapped here. Oof. This could be very good. Or are they just going to bounce?
Yeah, it's still a bounce. Jacob's just trying to stem the bleeding, cycle a card. Oh, right, of course. All Jacob's creatures have +1/+1. Now that the Sleeping Dragon has entered the play. I forget the exact name of that guy.
Ah, right. Yeah, that is Kong Ming, Sleeping Dragon. So Kong Ming says other creatures you control get +1/+1.
Mesmeric Fiend steals a Death Grasp from Jacob's hand.
That's right. That could be really huge here. Jacob's got another Shelter in his hand, I believe. Yes. And a pair of lands. So that could be really massive here as we go down the line, just because Jacob Wilson's life total is dwindling quickly, and that Douthie Mercenary plus the 2 shadow creatures stuck under the Parallax Wave are going to do serious work if he can't find a way to get them out. It doesn't look like he's in a position to race as Levy's sitting at 20, so that's not going to be an option. Is he just going to go for the basically the cycle here? Yeah, he is.
Pretty much. Into Renewed Faith. Not the most exciting.
Yeah, he's kind of spinning his wheels here, and he doesn't have a lot of time to do that. The Parallax Wave is on 1 fading counter, which means that on the next upkeep, it'll get removed, and then he'll still get to keep the Parallax Wave. And then the following one, it will actually go away. He's going to cycle Renewed Faith. He's trying to find something. He found a Chainer's Edict. That's not too bad, actually.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, he's on 6 mana here. He's going to be able to flash it back next turn, too.
Levy loses the Trapper.
Yeah, Benalish Trapper dies. So this is actually getting kind of interesting now.
Levy's hand's still full of gas. He actually hasn't gotten to 4 mana yet to play his Battle Screech. Like, Jacob is fighting just to hold off the sort of Piana, Douthie Mercenary, Shadow start. And
right on time, by the way, Randy.
yeah, Levy's just like, man, I wanted to my Battle Screech. He actually has no white creatures left now.
Interesting that that Raph actually, though, is left with no white creatures
right.
here. So.
Losing the Trapper means that he can't not immediately flash black Battle Screech.
Right.
Interesting choice. I think it's still right. Like, getting the 2 guys is good. You're going to get some white creatures back when the wave goes away. He doesn't want to lose his Mesmeric Fiend and give Jacob a Death Grasp back.
Absolutely
Doesn't want to lose his Shadow.
So Josh won his game. Josh Hutter-Layton wins his match 2-0 over Tom Martell. Martell looks like he wasn't quite able to keep the pressure enough after a really good start. So Josh finds a way with his mocks.
To Rose Faithful instead of Battle Screech so that he can Battle Screech with flashback next turn.
So that was, yeah, so gets in for 2 before that with the Douthie Mercenary, dropping Wilson down to 6.
Does Wilson have a sweeper that he's worried about? I wonder if he's slow rolling.
That is a question.
I mean, he's got Predatory Night Stalker, he's got Dark Hatchling, he's got the kind of grindy black-white deck, which sometimes works in this format, but isn't awesome just because it's reactive.
Right. Jacob has that Chainer's Edict sitting down in his graveyard. He has no other plays. He's got 2 lands in hand, so he's very likely to fire that off this turn and get, I guess, the Tarot's Faithful.
Yeah, you take them back to Nick Fong.
So get rid of that. And you can see that, Raph knew that that was coming, or at least was an option.
Yeah, Raph had this game. That shelter from Jacob was pretty clutch, where he was able to kill the Piana.
Yeah, the problem is that this is slipping away quickly from Wilson.
Yeah, I don't love Wilson's position, but if Raph
he's pretty dead here.
Raph actually did the attack and then tapped in the middle of combat where the shelter wrecked him. He could have actually tapped pre-combat. Would have been safer. I think he was.
So that he would have known for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He was playing around something else by trying to get his creatures tapped and attacking before he committed his tapper.
But yeah, Raph is,
Anyway, he's in fine shape.
he's in
anyway.
great shape. Remember, the Parallax Wave is going away next turn.
Mm-hmm. Was he going to pump and play a Stoic Champion here? Just slow rolling that Battle Screech?
Maybe he figures just in case there is some type of sweeper from Wilson.
He saw the deck list. He should know there's not.
Yeah, he should
There
know
may be a
there's
famine
not.
in the. Oh, there's a famine in the sideboard. That's what he's playing around.
Yeah, he's playing around famine.
There's a famine in Jacob's sideboard. I don't know if Jacob would bring it in, but he might have. If he's ever going to bring it in, it would be in this matchup.
Yeah. When you see Piana and you see Mesmeric Fiend, it gets pretty tempting to bring that kind of card in. All right, so there's lethal attacks. And what was that off the top for Wilson?
Thopter Squadron.
Thopter
Not good
Squadron's not going to do it. And Raph Levy improves to 2-1 by defeating Jacob Wilson and putting him down to 1-2 coming out of the Vintage Masters. So that's going to do it for the Vintage Masters draft, Randy. That was some of the best stuff I've seen in a while.
That was fun.
Crazy games, crazy decks some of these guys came up with. I'm sure that we'll get updates as far as how Huey did with his Storm deck overall. We know that Reed went 1-2 with his, so not the desired result for Reed Duke. But yeah, we saw some crazy stuff.
1 Mox,
Yeah, not bad.
but the Mox deck. Wait, who won between Josh and Tom? I missed it.
Josh did.
Josh did. So the Mox got him the 2-1.
Yes, and we also saw Cifka win with fast mana of his own in a mana
Absolutely.
Crib. So it turns out that free mana is pretty good.
Yeah, so the 2-1s out of this pod are Sam, Levy, and Josh.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
times.
because Sam lost to Cifka in the end, who is 3-0 coming out. Now, I do want to put a punctuation mark on that, though. With a small field like this, we have to remember that the record needed to make the cut to top 4 isn't quite as high. And I think that that's something that we need to, just because you're 1-2 coming out of the draft, that does not mean that you're done here, right? It means that you are drawing fully live. Welcome back to the booth.
It might actually be impossible to get mathematically eliminated today. I'm not sure 07 is mathematically eliminated.
I see.
It's realistically eliminated.
Right.
But if somebody, it's probably possible to contort things such that a 7-7 advanced.
Right.
It's probably really hard. It's probably 8-6 is for the worst record that would realistically make top 4. But yeah, 9-5. You can go 2-5 and still just have to run 7 rounds
and run it off. And I think that, for those of you that like to watch coverage with us, you watch a Grand Prix, you watch the Pro Tour, you need an incredible record, especially depending on the Grand Prix level, how many players are playing to make it into the top 8 of those events. And this one's a little different. The players tend to get a little bit more bunched in the middle, and it makes for really exciting watching because it means that there isn't some threshold where they're like, oh, third loss, see you later. We get to actually say, look, you need to keep playing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And we'll see people have stumbling starts and be right in the thick of it as we come down to the top 4 cut, which is going to happen tomorrow. So
good times.
yeah, so this is going to
Vintage
be
Masters is fun.
Yeah, that Vintage Masters definitely lived up to it. We put a lot of hype on it. I know I did myself. I was just like, I can't wait to be in the booth to bring this to you guys. And wow, incredible stuff from Vintage Masters. Getting to watch it drafted live was kind of interesting. But, yeah, all right, well, why don't we send it down to the feature match area where Tim Willoughby is standing for an interview.
Hello, I'm Tim Willoughby here in the feature match area with Raphael Levy. We've just come out of the Vintage Masters draft, but of all of the people in this World Championships, you're kind of the one with the most experience. How old were you when you played your first World Championship?
I think I was 15. It was in 97, so I was 15.
So pretty much half your life ago, you started playing in World Championships. You've not missed too many of them since then. How's it feel to be at 2-1 at this point?
Well, Vintage Master was the risky road. When everyone was playing Vintage Master when it came out, I was like, no, I'm not gonna have to play it. So I just didn't play it. And then they announced that we had to play Vintage Master, so I had a lot of catching up to do.
So you had some packs online. How many drafts were you able to get in before this tournament?
About probably more than 20. Also a decent amount.
But of course, this format now completed. You've made it 2-1 in Vintage Masters. Next up, we got Modern. How are you feeling about that one?
That's the even tougher one. But after that, I'm fine. If I get some wins in the Modern, I'll be happy.
And of course, we've seen you had a great performance at Pro Tour Kanzataki. We know that you like Standard, and the fact that the top 4 has changed to be Standard, that must have been good news for you, right?
Yeah, well, it's definitely better than Modern. But yeah, I'll be more confident after today. Like if I get some wins in Modern, 4 would be best. But yeah, I'll be happy. Yeah.
And of course, you are the person, sort of more than almost anyone else in this field, to have home field advantage. You were able to get sort of sleep in your own time zone. You're obviously pretty comfortable being in France and not having to travel too far. How much an advantage do you think that is in this sort of a tournament?
I think it's a pretty big advantage. Like I know when I'm jet lagged in other countries, it's tough to just sleep like 3 or 4 hours, then wake up, then try to fall back to sleep. And when you're deeply asleep, you wake up, you have to play. It's very tough. And I slept well the last few days, so I'm pumped and I'm focused. So it's quite an advantage, yeah.
Awesome stuff. Rafael Levy, a very dangerous player to play against when he's ready to play, and by the looks of it, absolutely ready here in this World Championship. I'm Tim Willoughby, passing you back to the booth.
Thank you for that, Tim. He's focused. We talked about it in the booth a little bit about, the time zone difference thing and how that can factor in. It'll become less of a factor the further we go into the tournament, I think.
Oh, for sure.
For the players here. But Raf looks sharp.
Yeah.
And a great start for him as well, starting off with 3-0. So
2-1 for Raf.
Or for the 2-1 for Raf, sorry.
2-1.
Yeah. All right, so why don't we send back now to the news desk where Richard Hagan awaits.
I do. Thank you very much to Marshall and Randy calling home Vintage Masters draft. Some extraordinary scenes on the battlefield. I don't think I'd ever seen a Claws of Wirewood until this morning. And then we saw 2 of them actually doing exactly what they're meant to do, which is turn a loss into a draw. So that was great stuff. I've been joined by Pro Tour historian Brian David Marshall, Pro Tour 2010 champion Simon Gertzen, as we put a little wrap and a bow on the morning's action. We've got a great lineup for lunchtime coming your way. In a little while, Randy Buehler will be sitting here to mark your card for Modern. We'll go through all the major archetypes that we expect to see this afternoon, and then deck techs all the way through the afternoon. Before that, we've got a fantastic piece for you where we want you to try and work out who you think will be the top 4 of this event.
Now, a bunch of cheaters.
Yeah.
They get this like 3-round head start on us.
Right, because we recorded this piece yesterday, and you guys, you're going to already know who's 3-0 and 2-1 and who's up against it at 0-3.
Lucky.
We made our picks at 0-0, but we're going to mark your card for the 24, tell you all about the great stories about the players you're not quite sure about in the top 24 that are with us this weekend. But first, let's get the scores on the doors, and why don't we look at our pod scoreboards coming out of this first of 4 formats, remember. Vintage Masters is just about done. There are 2 matches left, so we are going to show you what's going on in our scoreboard. So, as you can see, we are still waiting for the match between Paula Vita Dama de Rosa Brazil and Sean McLaren. But we have our 3-0, and BDM, having talked with William Jensen, seen his Storm deck get to 2-0. In the end, it was Shahar who claimed the pod victory.
Well, I heard you and Simon talking after the deck tech, and you were talking about what is a bad matchup for the Storm deck, and Goblins really puts the deck under a lot of pressure, and it's very difficult for them to wait long enough to get the win. I also have a little insight. I know people were talking about the double Beetleback pick with Shahar Shenhar, where he gets the pack. There's 9 cards. Chain Lightning, Beetleback Chief, Beetleback Chief.
The second one, notionally a foil.
Yes. And he's looking at the pack, and he's like, all right, I love Chain Lightning. I want a great removal spell. I want a little bit of reach. And I think there's not another Goblin player at the table. I think there's a chance I can get a last pick Beetleback Chief out of this pack. Slim chance. He was very, very happy with Chain Lightning. And he was like, I had a bunch of 4s already. I would like another Beetleback Chief, but not more than I wanted a Chain Lightning. And maybe I can get it last pick.
And if you do, it's a great story.
Oh my gosh, it would be amazing.
Right, okay. So still waiting for one result in that pod. Let's move to our second pod, the pod that we looked at in round 2. Why don't we take a look there? And here, again, one match outstanding. It's Rietzel against Flock. But the big story here is that the winner of the pod is the man who treated his Pro Tour victory as a qualifier for this event. Patrick Chapin. BDM, looks like we're going to be talking about him for a while yet.
Yeah, I mean, spoilers, I talk about him a lot in the piece where we pick our top 4. So, yeah, I mean, Patrick Chapin came in here with a plan. Paul Rietzel, you said, still playing. He and Paul Rietzel tested for this. And to me, the telling thing here was how focused Chapin was in terms of preparation, like not letting Paul Rietzel watch football on a Sunday because they're practicing.
We haven't played a round of Constructed yet, and Patrick Chapin is 3-0.
Yes, that is a great point.
That's a massive deal. Really is absolutely massive.
Although quietly, Chapin has become quite the drafter. He's become quite the limited player, very quietly, over the last couple of years.
Right, but you would still think in his heart of hearts, he would have bitten your hand off at 2-1.
Yes.
He'd have said, sure, I'll not play it, I'll not even pick a card in Vintage Masters,
Right.
I'll be 2-1. Because so much can go wrong. Simon, one of your themes through the morning has been how white, the battle screech, is so enticing, and so many players want the white that a lot of players end up with it going badly wrong. Ray Perez said at 0-3 that he felt that's what had happened to him. The white just dried up and he couldn't get out of there in time.
In Modern, you have to be prepared for Treasure Cruise, but in VMA Draft, you have to be prepared for Battle Screech. What do you do if you open it? What do you do if you want to draft white? What do you do if you don't want to draft white? And how do you beat it?
Right. What do you do if you open it and then I also open it right here, passing to you?
You have to be really, really careful, and I think Perez was probably at the receiving end of that.
Okay, let's take a look at our third and final draft pod. I think this one should be complete because we've only got 2 matches left. And there you see it. Ray Perez, as I mentioned, he's at 0-3, but still very cheerful, looking forward to racking up the pro points and can still very much be your world champion. The 1 and 2s, Reed Duke, he defeated Ray Perez with a Nevinral's disc in the end, pretty much. Tom Martell falls to 1 and 2, Jacob Wilson 1 and 2. The positive records, Josh Utter-Leighton, Sam Black, and I want to mention, BDM, Raphael Levy, because he is a notoriously slow starter. You just heard him there with Tim Willoughby.
Yeah.
Someone else who would feel at 2-1, he's very happily positioned.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about jet lag and about being well rested earlier, and he's playing on his own, on his normal body clock. So, he's at somewhat of an advantage here. And, it's also worth noting, I think a lot of players coming to this event, when they go to a Pro Tour, wherever that might be, they spend a week, maybe even 2 weeks in the city that they're going to be in beforehand, the beach house, the cabin in the woods, the whatever it is. And they have a lot of time to acclimate to the local time. Players really did not do that for this event. I mean, some of them were at Strasbourg, but, so I thought it was kind of interesting to see the factor of jet lag on this event.
All right, that pretty much puts a wrap on the morning. We're going to send you off to the 24, but reminder that Randy Buehler will be right here to mark your card for all the best decks in Modern. That's part of our lunchtime entertainment. You're going to need the hashtag MTGChamp T4 to tweet us your 4 names who you think will be back on Sunday. And to help mark your card, it's time for the 24.